Jaffar from West Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, residing here in Aurora, Colorado. When I was growing up, my mother was a Pentecostal branch of Christianity. Pentecostal has a very, very close religious relation to the indigenous slavery here in the United States of America at the time. So people that practiced Pentecostal were using traditions of the voodoo sciences from Africa to camouflage in the Christianity so that the slave master didn't know what they were practicing. You know what I'm saying? And this tradition had branched down throughout the generations after 400 years, you know, and a lot of churches was into that kind of practice, and my mother was part of that. That was more or less imposed till I got about 14. I wasn't really interested in church, you know. I didn't, you know, I wasn't really feeling the vibe of it, you know what I mean? And, you know, the streets of West Philly, very, very harsh, whatever. I wound up in the juvenile system as a young person. And when I got to the juvenile system, the staff there were Muslim. And they used to teach us the proper way of who the prophets were, and that Isa alayhi salam was a prophet and he wasn't God, and things of that nature. So it was about a good 2 years of that kind of study in the juvenile system. So by the time I became 18 years old, then I was able to take Shahada, you know what I'm saying, under the Salafi order. Practiced a little bit of Salafi, seen some weaknesses, went to the Hanafi Madhab, you know what I'm saying? And from the Hanafi Madhab studies, that opened up the studies to the Ahlulbayt, because Imam Abu Hanifa was a student of Imam Jaffar. So with that being spoken, there's no more to talk about. Now we have to look at the categorized imamate of the Ahlulbayt, and Ali alayhi salam was one who categorized everything in the proper form. I was 4 years old when I heard about Islam, because in West Philly, the first African-American school was built. It was called Sister Claire Muhammad, under the teachings of Imam Warathuddin Muhammad. The school was opened up. I was about 4 years old. I asked my mom, I said, what is this? She said, this is a Muslim school. You know what I mean? And, you know, the word Muslim was just like echoing through me for the rest of my life after that. You know, I wanted to know who these Arab people was in the desert. I wanted to know all these different things about what was going on in the Middle East. These guys were superior in their authority, you know. They were role models, you know, they dressed nice, they were like the coolest guys ever, and they talked about Islam a lot, and they loved it, and they were very, very humble in disseminating this knowledge, you know what I mean? And we would listen to them very much, you know. And they told us a lot of things, you know, and, you know, teaching us the Adhan and, you know, stuff like that, and different little cultures that, you know what I mean, that were interwoven into Islam, you know. I was 18, was under a scholar at that time who probably studied in Saudi or something like that, and I went ahead and took Shahada. All my friends around me at that time, they all took Shahada. It was like coming into the reunion of the Muslim families, you know. Everybody embraced. It was a lot of love with it. Once I started studying fiqh, you know, once you study fiqh, you're going to run into Shiitism with along that lines, and the period of Islam, you're gonna run into these things. So the fact that, like I said, Imam Abu Hanifa was a student of Imam Jaffar, you would want to look into what the 12 Imams were saying. And I started studying that, and we got the basic books from Musawi Mujtaba, like Resurrection and Judgment, and his book Imamate, and these different books, The Seal of the Prophets and His Message. Very, very strong books in elementary teachings of Islam for Shiitism. Very, very powerful. Dalil, proofs. There was another book that came out from Baltimore, Maryland, from the Potomac Center on Ghadir Khumm. They explained everything in Ghadir Khumm, you know, what happened, how he was chosen. There's a lot of points as to why people should converge to Shiitism. Some people, they don't really understand what's going on as far as, you know, getting into the, you know, the technical terms of Islam. You know, the fact that Ali alayhi salam was the #1 talib of the Nabi, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. You know, this intellectual capacity that he had and the way that he was teaching his family and teaching everybody, people didn't study that yet. You know, this book, Najib al-Laka, all these different top books, Mu'ajarat, you know, they have to look at these things to really, really see and find out what's going on, you know what I mean, with the imamate, because after nubuwat, prophethood, then comes imamate, you know what I'm saying? And this whole subject is what's missing around the whole Muslim world, the imamate. This one subject right there, you know what I'm saying? This is the remedy, you know what I'm saying, that people need to find out about. Intellectual capacity increased, became more intelligent, became more understanding, became more patient, you know, and it really did a lot for me. It did a lot for me. It cured a lot of things in my heart and answered a lot of questions that I had. In the prison society on the East Coast, these prisons become madrasas over there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of heavy studying. They do pay scholars to come in and teach the inmates and stuff like that. So there's Arabic classes, there's fiqh, there's Quranic, you know. I mean, you get to really absorb a lot of knowledge and stuff like that. And they start connecting you on the street, who you should be with. You know, when you get out, go talk to this person, they understand, you know, what's going on. They were here, now they're leaders, whatever, you know, and a whole big connection started from the prison system. There were some people in my family who were a little bit extreme about me becoming a Muslim and stuff like that. But my mother, that was the, you know, rest in peace, she was the main one that supported me. You know what I mean? You know, a lot of other people, like my aunties and stuff like that, they were like kind of frowned upon that, you know, because they don't know. You know what I mean? They don't understand. And in my community, as an Afrocentric person, you know what I'm saying, Christianity and slavery goes together. You know what I mean? Because our ancestors were beating to become Muslim, and although some of them were Muslim, that came here from Africa, they were Muslim, and a lot of them had to get beaten to become Christian. They beat them and tortured them till they accepted that. So as generations passed, they tried to bury that part of it, you know what I mean? But the knowledge is going to resurface, you know, either way it goes. So alhamdulillah, I'm happy to be Muslim. I'm happy to follow the Ahlulbayt. And it was a gift and a treasure, you know what I'm saying, given to me. They're very inspiring because you always learn something new from them when you study from the Imams. And then there's 12 of them, and each one has something to disseminate all the time. And You know, one of the best books I've read was the 40 Hadith of the Imam. That was a pretty good, phenomenal book, you know. And alhamdulillah, you know, to have this knowledge preserved like it was, even though Ali Murtaza alayhi salam went through all the political challenges that he did in the beginning, you know what I'm saying, he still was able to have his teachings come to us. Imam Hussein, that suffering, you know, that he went through, you know what I mean, and the way they murdered him, you know, the way they did his family, you know what I'm saying, it's very, very challenging to the mind, the imagination, out in that hot desert in Karbala, and those tortures that took place. You know what I mean? They pulled the spear out on Ali, and they burned the house of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, and they did all these things, and I'm riding with them, man. You know, I'm rolling with the Ahlulbayt. Y'all not gonna do that and get away with it. I'm rolling with them. These are the people, that's why you wanted to do what you did. You know, so I'm gonna stick with that, man. You know, I'm sticking with that. It's about the humility, it's about thinking the way they think, you know, maneuvering the way they maneuver. You know, having their hikmah, you know what I mean? You know, that's what it's about. It's the ilm. The ilm is genuine. The ilm is priceless. You know what I mean? It's like you know, opening up, you know, these jewels and diamonds. You know what I mean? Precious. It's a precious thing. It's a precious thing, and there's only a few that's going to be chosen to understand that. The environment of which I come from, you know what I mean? You know, people don't have, you know, college education. They don't have degrees. That's something that's not going on where I'm from. You know what I mean? Where I'm from, you know, there's territories, there's drug lords, you know what I mean? It's a lot of gangster stuff going on in the street. You know what I mean? And if you don't have no knowledge to see that you can walk away from that, you'll only feel like that's the only way you can survive. You know what I mean? So, you know, that leads to the death. That leads straight to the death. Because you're going to be more successful than somebody else on the street, or somebody else is going to be more successful than you, and then, you know, Shaitan's going to have both of you jealous of each other, and then, hey, there it goes, a frivolous war for nothing. If they would sit back and really, really listen and find out what's going on within this knowledge, they would be better off. It would cure them a lot. It would really cure them. Ali Murtaza alayhi salam is not a liar. You know what I mean? If he tell you something, it's the truth. You know? That's the only, you know what I'm saying, only way I could put it. You know what I mean? Find out what happened to Ali Murtaza alayhi salam. Find out what happened to Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Find out what happened to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You know, find out what happened to Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Find out what happened. And when you find out what happened, then you're going to see that somebody made something up in these minhages that they call Islam. You're going to see that somebody put something together that they wasn't supposed to out of greed and for this money. You're going to see that. You're going to see the separation. And one of the top books to recommend for that is Karbala and Beyond. You know, if you read that book, you'll see some of the separations on how they put these different minhajas together and try to distinguish the Ahlulbayt. You know, they try to distinguish that. You know what I mean? But the haqq is going to surface.